Hey everyone, welcome back to More Flesh and Bad, and today we're going to be playing some more Zen, and we are going to lock in on Zen for our Pro Quest, because apparently he is still legal as of today. I think there was an announcement that basically there's no way for Zen to achieve basically full LL points this weekend, which is really cool. It means he basically lost, I think, both the Battle Hardens, and then I think there's only like one Pro Quest. I think one of the Pro Quests was Blitz that I was talking about before. So anyways, we are safe and in the clear to use Zen for both of my Pro Quests that are happening basically the weekend of Pro Tour London, which is really cool. Which means I have two opportunities to get some more LL points for our boy. So let's go ahead and get some practice. So this is a list that this is not my current list right now. This is a list that is very similar to what I'm working on, but I'm kind of working on some more spicy stuff on the side. But this is what I want to play today. Basically, it's very similar in terms of construction to my current list. Like we're at 27 reds, 30 blues, but the actual list in terms of like sideboard and other stuff is very, very different. But one thing I do want to test it. So basically, there are three kind of questions I'm trying to answer in testing this week before the Pro Quest. So one, how good is Quick Dodge Flexors? So Quick Dodge is a card that we've seen in and out of lists for Aurora. And I think it could still be good, but it's definitely a little bit dicey. But I think that the ceiling on the floor on the card is quite high, so I still want to try to run it and see if we can really see this card shine into Aurora. I could definitely see just running flippers because I don't think it's like super like I don't think this card is like game winning into the Aurora matchup. But if it gives you percentage points, it's probably worth like at least considering. I don't know how much like percentage it actually like gives you over time flippers, but that's question number one. Question number two is Sound the Alarm. So Sound the Alarm has been popping up in a lot of lists as like a 2 of. I kind of like it actually, just as like hand information as a 1 for 5. Pretty good stat line. I definitely kind of like this effect, but I think you do need to like chop down on chain enders if you do want to bring this in. So I'm cutting down like the mauling keys, for instance. And then question number 3 is Weakest Link. So Weakest Link is a card that I have at 2 of in the board right now. It's been seeing a lot of play this weekend, or I think these past couple weekends rather. And I want to see if this card is actually worth including, because I've kind of been like down on this card like recently because it's just like a 2 for 6, which is what kind of whatever. It doesn't really like synergize with like a car or anything, so I've generally like Censor, but it being a popper is quite strong, and then into Enigma can also be like pretty disruptive if you do get the chance to play it. Yeah, so those are the main questions. I think maybe if to add a fourth question is like, is wax on, wax off worth it? Like, I'm kind of trimming down on it recently. I might even go off it entirely, but I definitely want to test it out a little bit more today. I'm also bringing in the red key unleash just because I think having like a 2 cost is something that I've missed in the deck a little bit, even though it does sometimes cook you up. But I think you can run this in matchups where you want this kind of like 2 for 7 effect, which is pretty good. All right, so those are kind of like the main questions I want to answer today. So let's go ahead and get some practice, get some games, and see how it goes. All right, so we got an Aurora, which will give us some good opportunity to kind of test our attack. Let's bring in the Quick Dodge. And do I have an Aurora matchup? Okay, I don't think I do. Let's go ahead and bring in our Wax on, Wax off. Sync Blows definitely also come in. And then what else do I want to cut? I've generally also kind of cut like E-Strike in this matchup sometimes. See that being correct. Blue Pouncing Key probably shouldn't be there. Maybe like 2 CNCs and cut like the Gust Wave. Let's try something like this. I feel like I change my Aurora sideboard like pretty frequently. It mainly depends on like whether or not they're on Crown or Face Purgatory. But I still think like E-Strike is like a pretty weak card in the matchup. So let's go ahead and just run it like this. All right, so definitely curious to see if the Quick Dodge will make a difference here. All right, this feels a little bit like CLV, so we'll try to block here. Could also just be nothing. Okay, I am correct that it does feel like a CLV. I feel like I've ever seen Aurora like lead off on Starfall. That's like a pretty good indicator that it's CLV, especially if they're like pitching a lightning card. It's definitely kind of a tell sometimes, feels like. All right, Skizik coming in as well. I do ideally want to just like filter towards Transcend if I can. We're not like super incentivized to attack like super deep into them, especially when they have like a CLV out, which is kind of like why Quick Dodge is maybe a little bit of a downside here. I think we still want to maybe just block out, and then keeping the wax on does feel weird, but if they like attack with one more thing, it's like kind of fine. Yeah, if they want to like re-attack with this, then we can just wax on and we get full filtering. Kind of okay with this. They could also like go for Arsenal if they don't want to get greedy, but we'll see what they do. Got. I feel like if I was them, would I attack? Maybe. All right, found Transcend, but unfortunately it's a little late. Or sorry, not late, but rather just kind of awkward. I almost feel like we should just not attack. Is that crazy? That might be crazy. Uh, let's make them think we have something else, and maybe they'll want to like Sigil Suffering something later. But we probably do just want to like get that card out of our hands. I don't know if that play was necessarily correct. Maybe keeping levels was better than what we ended up doing. All right, let's close Combat Chain and then just Arsenal. All right, this is a very good hand though. So more likely than not, they're probably going to be getting a CLV trigger this turn, especially if they're gonna like pitch. All right, pitch 2 lightning cards. I'm like very okay with. So this basically means they're like losing 2 cards to gain a card, which is like kind of fine. All right, and then we'll just wax this on. If they double, or if they like have a lightning press or whatever, then we can just cover it. So pretty happy with how this worked out. And then we also have Chase Aspect next turn. And we can even get like a swipe if they go for something else. I think we'll hold on to the second wax on. So they're going to keep the CLV around another turn, which is definitely awkward. But I think this is still fine. All right, so there's the Skizik, which we knew was an Arsenal. So yeah, no reason to block here. I think we'll just try to hold on to our wax on. If we can filter to something better, then maybe we do. All right, so they keep their CLV around one more turn, but they kind of had to pitch like pretty inefficiently to even do that. So I'm kind of okay with this. All right, let's start with the Biting Breeze, which maybe just eats Grasp here. Eating Grasp is like really good though. Basically 2 damage blue. Definitely not bad. All right, let's go for the Rising Sun. I think we can put Incan on the bottom and just get Aspect here. What do we want? Aspect. So one thing I've also considered is like cutting the pouncing keys, like the red ones from this matchup, just because like if you're not running, whenever you're not running pouncing paws, it gets a lot more awkward to like cast it because sometimes this card will just brick you like outright. All right, there's Sigil Suffering, which is unfortunate. Definitely feels pretty bad to have that happen when you don't have AB up. But we didn't really have AB in this situation anyways, that we could like really like they basically get a card out of us either way, whether that's them drawing a card or whether that's us paying into AB. So it's like kind of okay. Yeah, Sigil Suffering definitely pretty good there though. So that means they didn't have it. Curious if they drew into it last turn. All right, we're seeing like all of our wax-ons, which is maybe not exactly how we want to line it up, but we do have the Grain that Tips the Scale, which is nice. All right, just going to pitch into Grasp. All right, just guaranteeing the CLV trigger makes sense. Glad they revealed the blue on top. I will definitely take that. And I've never seen Aurora keep a CLV around for 3 turns, or for 4 turns rather, but maybe today will be the day. Let's see. All right, pitching a Sigil Suffering plus Static Shock. It's pretty good for us, I think. And then we can just wax this on, since it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to give it go again. So I think we're kind of in a good spot this game, just on the basis that like we're playing pretty efficiently, I think. All right, hit a light and levels of enlightenment up top. I was thinking that was like levels of lightning for some reason. I don't know. My brain is like fried at this point. All right, we can do 4, or we can do 5, 5, 0, 6 or something. It's pretty all right. We are cutting down on the mauling keys in this matchup. Fortunately, we haven't used one yet, but something to definitely take note of. All right, let's grab mauling. And hopefully we'll be able to line up our wax on with our wax off here. All right, that is, yeah, that all you got there actually kind of does make a fair bit of sense. Just because like they wouldn't be able to they wouldn't get the opportunity to use it anyways. So like if they can just cycle that for a card, it kind of does it kind of like is reasonable, even though they got like 0 value off it because they blocked on the tiger. Kind of like that play. All right, get the Arsenal wax on. So we're probably just gonna sandbag this, and then just keep the full hand. And if they play snatch, then we use it or something. No reason to like give traverse here. I think that we already have our transcend cards, so there's not real incentive to do so. All right, there's that Heaven's Claw. Starfall seems good. Definitely looking for an opportunity to use quick dodge this game, but it hasn't really presented itself as like, I feel like we're waiting for a hand that's like very gutted on blues, basically. For like a real opportunity to kind of use it to good effect. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and use our wax on here. No real reason to wait for wax off or anything. I think we'll just take the value here. All right, then we'll start with 100 wins, and then I think we might just be getting a red 100 wins here. Oh, normally I do cut. Wait, are we running red 100 wins? It's probably wrong for this matchup. I probably need to fix my sideboards after this game, just so that I'm like more prepared, I guess, for the pro quests. Because it definitely feels like they're a little bit janky right now, and then if I'm like manually sideboarding, I feel like I'm not actually getting good practice because that's maybe not how I would sideboard in like a real game. I think taking time to like think about your sideboards is definitely worth it. Just because like you don't want to be thinking about your sideboard like the day of the event, right? You want to be like you want to have a plan ahead of time and then execute that plan. You don't want to be like trying to experiment with things the day of, right? All right, finish on the mauling though. All right, this is a very good hand for throwing Traverse in front of if we do get the opportunity to do so. Arc Lightning not too scary here, but they do get to draw an extra card. I think if they go for an Arsenal here, blocking Traverse is correct, just because like we need to guarantee that we're getting Traverse used on this hand. Because otherwise we're just going to be like hemorrhaging value because we're not able to convert this into Chase Aspect, I think. All right, we'll take a little bit of damage from the Arc Lightning. And again, it's basically never efficient to pay into like any like I think that the two so the reason for no AB, right? The only effects that you actively ever want to pay into are like Arc Lightning and Sigil Suffering, because otherwise if you're like paying into AB, it's like pretty inefficient, it feels like. All right, pitching another Arc Lightning instead of Arsenal is interesting. I almost think they maybe should have like just saved that, but definitely an interesting play. I guess they get an extra 3 damage here or something. That kind of makes sense a little bit, I guess. But having Arc Lightning in Arsenal is like really powerful. All right, let's go for our levels here. Grab our chase, do draw go. All right, draw into path. We would like to see that path a little bit earlier, but I guess we can just like Arsenal this or whatever. So I think his hand still works out pretty good. I think we're probably just not going to Kakara this turn, which is fine. Just use this path well traveled in Arsenal to guarantee we're transcending next turn. All right, it seems like they're maybe off of it. So they had E-Strike, Flicker. Yeah, that's not like a very impressive hand necessarily. And then what are we drawing to? We're drawing to just like Chi or whatever. Yeah, that's pretty good. Fortunately, none of our wax offs mattered that game, and also our quick dodge didn't really matter either, which is like I feel like half the games I play against Aurora, I like end with quick dodge in play. And then the other games I feel like I lose for not like maybe I'm not finding the opportunity to play quick dodge, but I don't think it really presented itself efficiently that game. I feel like it's returns where you have like 3 blues in hand or something and you can't send any damage. They're not like transcend blues or whatever, and then you can convert that into like 6 block or whatever. But yeah, not really presenting itself that game. I do think that for what it's worth, we probably shouldn't be running like the red 100 wins in this matchup in general, just because I think that having 2 blocks is kind of like whatever. But yeah, I'll definitely try to like retool my sideboard a little bit after this game, maybe, and kind of think about the sideboard a little bit more. All right, well with that, let's go ahead and grab another game. All right, so we got another Aurora. So let's try to sideboard a little bit better. I'll give them a good luck, have fun. So we're going first, and then we definitely want our wax on, wax off plan. Definitely our sync belows as well. So normally I cut the 2 blocks in this matchup. I'm gonna manually sideboard this while I think about like what my actual sideboard is. I think E-Strike is also like pretty mid. I do like having CNC as like something to block Exude sometimes. And then is there anything else we want to bring in? Could bring in the Key Unleash, but that seems like a little bit cute. Maybe the Breed Anger is a little bit better. Yeah, let's run it like this. This is, I think, a little bit different from how we sideboard before, but I think it's probably fine. So I think I do want to probably Arsenal Wax Off here, which means, what do we want to do? I guess we can like play Harmony Hunt, play Tiger, and then sound the alarm. That seems fine. All right, so this opponent is on Face Purgatory. Definitely seems like there's still a little bit of variance between which one you'll see. All right, Exude out of the way is good. I do think Exude is in general one of the better threats in this matchup, but let's sound the alarm and see what they got going on. All right, so you got a Burn Up Chalk, E-Strike, and a Current Funnel. My guess is they're probably just going to save the Burn Up Shock, which makes sense. Definitely a good lightning starter. Ooh, we got drop too. Very nice hand. All right, so this to me implies CLV, in which case we can still block that. So we can like wax off that. They're also not Burn Up Shocking, which is interesting. So if they don't want to Burn Up Shock, what are they doing? So this is actually kind of efficient for us. What we can do is we can actually wax off this, assuming they have CLV, which it seems like it's pretty telegraphed, right? Then we can like block 3, drop the next thing. So I think that's probably what we're going to end up doing. Again, they could be doing something completely different, but it does feel like a CLV, which again, sometimes it's not, but oftentimes it definitely is. But I think using Wax Off here is like fine, just to cover the card draw and make them work for it a little bit harder. Or actually, sorry, we should actually undo that slightly, because I think we need to target this while it's on. So this is actually important with Gone in the Flash. I think if they choose to bounce, if they have like an instant in hand and it's on the stack, they can't return it. But if we do it now, oh, we can't. Oh, okay, sorry, we can't target something that's on the. We can't target something that's on the stack apparently with drop. Is that right? Maybe that's right. So the one dangerous thing they could do here is bounce that, which is definitely unfortunate. But maybe we still do it anyways. I thought you could target an attack on the stack with drop, but I could be wrong. Someone in the comments let me know. But I could have sworn that if something is on the stack, it's an attack that's targetable. Huh, interesting. I'll have to ask judges later. All right, yes. Okay, so here, what are we doing? Get like a 1 cost here. We could also just send in CNC if we wanted to like not be greedy. We send in CNC, there's no risk of us getting sigiled, but we do have the risk of getting Face Purgatory. So maybe we should just send it anyways and just hope it's not from Arsenal. I think there might have been merit to just sending CNC, but it doesn't play around Face Purgatory very well. So maybe this is fine. All right, get her 1 damage. And it seems like they maybe don't have Sigil because it feels like Breed was definitely the opportunity there. All right, then we'll finish on the CNC. I was definitely thinking if it was maybe correct to just like, I think there are a couple lines there. So line 1 I saw was that we could like just send CNC and then if they go for Face Purgatory, we Kasaya. But I do like just sending damage. I don't know. Popping Kasaya there does feel a little bit weird. All right, interesting. They're going to Burn Up Shock us on our turn to just filter it. Is that right? Normally, I feel like it would be better to save it. I guess you get like you net a damage, but you also like lose out on one of your best like ways to push damage. All right, so here comes the Snatch. We could turn this into a quick dodge turn. It's pretty efficient to do so. This might actually be the opportunity to quick dodge. We can do 2, 2, assuming they don't lightning press, but there's no way for us to cover lightning press here. So I think we'll just go ahead and cash it in. Thins our deck out a little bit too, and then I think we'll keep the 3 block just in case we need it. But yeah, this quick dodge is actually looking pretty good. If you could like pair the quick dodge with the traverse, it seems pretty all right. All right, so they have a 2nd strike in hand. Does that matter? I think we're just letting them have a CLV trigger here. We could give them Tiger Swipe and try to block it, and then they just get like a random Arsenal. I don't think that's worth it. I think Tiger Swipe is like worth probably keeping around. So I think we're just gonna cash in Quick Dodge here and let them have the CLV draw. Does feel weird, like knowing that they have a second strike and giving that go again, I guess. But it looks like they're probably not even going to be able to keep the CLV around, which is fine. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So there's the second strike, and they have Entwine in hand. Might choose to hold on to that or play it. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like holding on might be more better. I think that was actually like a semi-decent quick dodge there. Nothing like crazy impressive, but decent. Turned 100 wins into basically +4 block. All right, let's grab our aspect. Play it out. Yeah, I don't know about quick dodge. It definitely seems middling sometimes. It's a card I need to play with more. I feel like it can really shine if they go for like an ultra wide turn, but if they're not going for an ultra wide turn, and maybe is a little lackluster. We do get a nice little tempo swing here though, and we also get to shuffle that path will travel that we put at the bottom, which is nice. Hopefully we can maybe try to redraw into that. And we've also like thinned our deck out of a couple cards. So the chances of like redrawing into some Transcend or some Chi, I feel like are pretty high. All right, we've got a 20-point lead. They do have a 5-card hand, so that could easily kind of go away here. But ooh, that's very funny that I was talking about that and it actually happened. I feel like that happens to me a lot more than I expect. All right, Twine is fine. All right, another CLB is definitely scary, but no real reason to do much here. Wonder if making a Zen State next turn would be good. But yeah, we're basically just letting them have all this damage, I think. Seems like they're also probably going to be able to keep it around. So funny thing is, if they go for Sigil, we can actually make a Zen State on our turn. It's kind of cool. I feel like that might actually be the play, is to not go for Tutor and just go for like Zen State, because that means we're basically safe through CLV, right? Right, there's the Skizzik, so they're probably going to set up Embodiment this turn and then either send the card or Arsenal. Probably more likely to Arsenal. Right, first counter there. Go ahead and pitch the Wax Off here. And if they ever go for Sigil, we can always just Path Will Travel, which is good. So if they don't have Sigil, do we still Zen State? Maybe. It's definitely interesting. So how much damage do we deal if we don't go for Zen State? We do, this is 1. Well, this is always 1, so we get an extra 8. And then they're forced to give us something. Very interesting whether or not the chase is the correct line here, or just going for killing them is or going for Zen State is the correct line. I feel like I'm going to stick to my gut and go for Zen State, because it feels like they're going to keep a 5-card hand here. If they go for Sigil of Suffering here, it's kind of a blowout, I feel like. All right, it seems like they don't have Sigil, which is fine. We'll do this after reactions, just so we play around it. But it feels like they don't have it here. All right, give this go again. Gain a resource. And I think we are making a Zen State here. It definitely feels a little bit weird, but I think it will get us a decent amount of value, especially with the CLV out. Ooh, this hand's very, very nice. So the question is this going to be a blocking turn, or is this going to be a turn where I say, like, you can just have whatever here? I feel like we should just let them have whatever here, and that's probably fine. I feel like there's no real reason to, like, try to go for, like, a full blockout on this or whatever. I don't know. Having a levels in hand definitely kind of incentivizes me the other way, I feel like. if they're like committing cards to like keeping CLV around for another turn, I'm like also kind of fine with that. Let's keep track of our Zen state value here, by the way, too. So we have 2 value on the Zen state already. Getting a 3rd value. Sure. So 3 value at least from this turn. Right, making embodiment. So they're going to keep it around 1 more turn, but we are immune from Sigil Suffering next turn, which is really nice. All right, so let's go for a levels play. So pitch the other levels, play that. We could have also, we could have pitched Sink Below, but like I don't think that's actually good, right? Because then we wouldn't have like the other blue to pitch. Okay, and then what do we want to get here? We could do Buff Go since we already have the Arsenal target, and then we can just get like a swipe here just for Shuko buff. I think it's fine. Let's do Buff Go. It could definitely have an opportunity to face Purgatory this, especially if they want to like commit to more of a blocking pattern. I think I'm actually kind of fine. So discarding Tiger is worth 3 value. This is worth 4 value. So I guess we'd rather hold on to the Sink Below, right? Sure. I feel like they can have Tiger at that point, right? Just do 2 and 2. And then we get to hold on to Sink Below. They definitely did get like a decent bit of value there. Definitely not, I think, a terrible face Purgatory by any stretch of the imagination. I wonder if maybe going for Drago is better just so we can play around that and to draw this card, the other card. It might be better. Yeah, I think maybe Drago is better knowing that they're probably very likely to go for a face Purgatory. All right, unfortunately our Sink Below is not going to give us much juice this turn, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and just maybe throw Pouncing Key just to stave off the damage a little bit. But unfortunately, we're probably not going to be able to use it here. And the question is, do we want to give them another card to block? Double Transcend is like kind of fine. Like, do we need the Wind Chakra? I don't think we do. I think we'll just throw it in front of it just to like deny that specifically, right? I think that makes sense. And now the question is, do we want to give them Shuko? It's definitely a step up in terms of like commitment here. They draw 2. I feel like it's probably worth it, especially as we're kind of nearing the end game here. All right, it seems like they didn't have follow-up, so both CLVs go away. That's very, very good for us. All right, so let's go for Rising Stir. If we draw blue, we definitely want to like tuck the chi here. All right, we didn't draw blue, but that's fine. So now we can just like get a mauling or whatever. Definitely feels a little bit weird because we're not having a Sire resource, which helps kind of like smooth out the turn a lot more. But this is still presenting semi-lethal. They will have to, I think, give us at least a piece of armor here, or I think at least 2 pieces of armor. All right, so it seems like they're just going to stay a little bit healthy at 5. That kind of makes sense. So how many CLVs? So we've seen all 3 CLVs. So now we don't have to play around CLV Sigil. And Arc Lightning is like whatever, right? It's almost never efficient to pay into Arc Lightning. So I'm happy that we're not running AB and we don't have that temptation, I guess. But we'll go for Sink Below here. I think holding on to the other Sink is reasonable. So maybe we'll go and Sink CNC for blue. That's kind of what I was thinking. Right, and then Arc is fine here. Right, there's the Rabble. So press on top, that's good information for next turn. And then I think we'll just sit on the Sink Below, depending on what they have next turn. We still got like a healthy enough life buffer we can afford to take some damage. I don't want to just die to like Snatch here. It seems like they probably don't have Snatch. I don't think they were representing Snatch for what it's worth, because they didn't play it last turn when they had the opportunity, I think. I feel like that card in Arsenal is like Sigil Suffering, is my guess. Let's see if I was right. Sure, we can do a quick rematch. All right, let's get some good Aurora practice tonight. So, Sink Below and Arsenal is good. I guess we'll just start by Transcending, which is nice. Gain a resource, and then probably just get a 1 cost here. Seems fine. You go. Huh, no blocks is interesting. What is their hand where they don't block? Maybe they were just saving blocks for that. That makes sense. So if these two cards are like not like electromagnetic and then press or something, that can make sense. Or like CLV also makes sense, I think. Oh wow, early face purgatory. And then there's the CLV as well. All right, so it was press and CLV. Sure. So we discarded Sink Below, but that's like fine. If they use face purgatory there, that's basically like we're getting a card anyways out of them. So I think that's like on turn one, if they use face purgatory, I think I'm like actually kind of happy with that. All right, so no preventing the arcane damage here, unfortunately, but we don't really want to anyways. So I think it's fine. We'll just go for a wax on, wax off here, which should basically eat their CLV for the next like 2 turns. Right, there's Serenade, sure. And perfect opportunity to wax off here. Let's go get our 3 damage coverage. Probably incentivized to just try to keep CLV around, and they have 1 more card in hand, so it's pretty likely they're going to play out at least 1 more thing. If they don't, we're going to look kind of stupid, but that's fine. All right, they do end up playing another card, so they're probably just going to fish on Embodiment and then Arsenal, and then we get to Arsenal Pouncing Key. Definitely, I think, a good turn cycle for us, even through a CLV, rather. It seems like they may scoop it out. Oh, no, I feel bad. Okay, let's see what they're drawing into, I guess. So this looks like pretty stock standard Aurora. What are we redrawing into? That hand's, like, kind of whatever. But we do have, like, Traverse to, like, fix it, so maybe we, like, just throw a Traverse in front of it and then do, like, just a 1 cost and then finish on CNC. So yeah, I think that was actually, like, a pretty resounding game in terms of, like, I do think that the wax on, wax off stuff does feel pretty backbreaking when you can line it up. It's definitely sometimes just hard with like Exude and other stuff though. Yeah, let's see if we can maybe get another like non-Aurora game, because I know some people get sick of the Aurora game. So I do think it's like one of the matchups you have to practice right now the most. So that's why I kind of wanted to kind of showcase a little bit more. But yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can get another one. All right, Florian. Generally not the toughest matchup in the world, but we'll play it out here still. I think for this matchup, I basically just try to go like very aggressive. So boarding in like some cosmics just in case. Normally you're never playing the cosmics, but it's just a 3 block over like the wax off stuff. And I think I like the idea of bringing like an Akil Unleashed over maybe like an E-Strike here or something, just to, because E-Strike's like kind of whatever into Florian. Yeah, I kind of like this. Let's see how it goes. All right, turn 1 Transcend, very nice. I feel like we've been drawing like actually pretty well tonight in terms of our Transcends. Definitely foreboding for future events, but we'll take our luck where we can get it, I guess. All right, just pass. Oh, maybe they wanted to undo. Did you want to? Sorry, did you want to undo? Oh, okay. You wanted to undo. Cool. All right. Let's go for the incant here. Homage. Get a resource and then activate Zen. I think we'll just grab our chase here. We can always discard the gust wave if we need to. But getting the first chase, especially when Barkskin is not online, is pretty solid. I've Incant, I think, is a card that I have not liked in the past Zen lists, but I've come around on it a lot more, just as like a way to play Chase the Tail really easily. I feel like I don't know why I was down on this card before, but it tends to be like pretty all right. Sometimes it's a little bit awkward with like the targeted Transcends, especially if it's like a non-blue hand that you're playing it off of, but like a lot of times it is just like very, very good. All right, so Seeds of Tomorrow coming in, sure. So this will not be preventable, but the Gust Wave obviously will probably eat the second prevention. So that is a-okay with me. Seeds Tomorrow is like fine. It's never like a really efficient play to be doing, but it is sometimes like efficient if you just have to Arsenal a random card. But it's never like the best card in the world, obviously, so I'm not like super upset about seeing it. All right, it seems like they're maybe just trying to keep a CNC there to kind of throw us off. What do we want to do with this hand? We could honestly just like go for like another chase at them. Seems maybe fine. I don't think there's a ton of, well, I guess maybe it's not ideal. Could just block 6 and then send 6 too. It's another option. So I don't want to like send. We can't keep in our soul because of Purgatory. It's like it's pretty easy to block face Purgatory on a CNC. I do kind of like the idea of maybe throwing Traverse in front of this, but maybe we'll just take another turn to kind of set up. I'm kind of fine with that. I don't think we need to like just pop both Traverse and Pouncing Paws there. Feels like maybe a little bit too much. I think sending CNC by itself here, where they don't have the opportunity to face Purgatory, is like pretty reasonable. I feel like often going off Arsenal against Florian is good depending on the game state, especially how many like CNC and Plow Under effects you've seen. So we saw a Plow Under pitch there, and then we saw CNC, so they only have 4 live effects at this point. All right, seems like they're just going to double pitch there, and then send in with the Reaping Blade. So I think this is actually a much better hand to just throw Traverse in front of, and I did tend to not to like to use Traverse and Pouncing Paws at the same time. I think if I can space them out, I'm a little bit happier. So I think I'll just go ahead and take this. And then let's go ahead and start off with Kikara. So I think we might be holding back the 100 ones just in case they do go for face Purgatory at some point this turn, but there's not really a great window here for them to do so. So get our chase aspect going. Pretty good. Right, there's Rootbound. Seems fine. Definitely a little bit slow on the Transcend here, but they could easily kind of catch up here. Or did I say Transcend? I meant Decompose, obviously. Which is kind of like Transcending. Kind of the same thing, if you don't think about it. Oh, there's Truce. Tegan is a big Truce appreciator, especially in Florian. I think Truce is like pretty good. Maybe not into Zen specifically, but like into other heroes, I think it's like pretty solid. Especially like as a good thing to do turn 1, and it's just a blue, so like low opportunity cost. I think we'll play out the 100 ones here just so that we're not like keeping an arsenal when we don't need to. I think converting the 3 damage there is like kind of fine. All right, seems like they're just going to wrap up on a sink below. And we will just go ahead and pass back. All right, more Transcend. Very good. So I think this is a little bit awkward, right? Because we don't have the blue to pitch to this. I think the play here is to maybe just go for 100 ones into CNC. If they want to face Purgatory us, so be it. We could also throw in Kikara if we're worried about that, and just convert it into 2 damage. I feel like it's pretty likely they do face Purgatory this, so maybe we do just go for this. We should have also probably pitched the incant first in case they do. I mean, I don't know what they could have. I don't think it really matters, right? Because they're probably just going to pitch both. This is fine. I'm not super happy with this, obviously. But yeah, it seems like they were maybe trying to go for a face Purgatory. So that's kind of why, like, playing around face Purgatory, I think, is pretty important in this matchup. But that's kind of why I was hesitant, I guess, to really commit there. Like, commit to trying to keep an arsenal there. All right, so now that face Purgatory is out of the way, it becomes a lot easier to kind of attack in. What are we doing with this hand? We can do 2 into 7 and the arsenal, like, sounding alarm or something. Seems fine. We could also, like, cycle off E-Strike, which is maybe better. Maybe just block with this. Stay healthy while we kind of just try to find our transcends here. I think we're just going to do 2 into 5. All right, getting a mic token. Seems good. And we'll draw a card here. All right, levels is a very nice draw. Especially if we can find some of our more juicy transcend cards. All right, seems like they are now at basically almost at 8 decompose here. Definitely a relatively scary, especially if there are 2 cards here like Plow Under or whatever. I think they can basically get fully online. All right, Felling is even better than Plow Under. Maybe not actually in this case, but still pretty good. So what are we bottoming, I guess is the question. It's probably just going to be a blue, right? And then we'll just take 9. It seems fine to me. Just go for a levels play here. And now that they're fully online, we can start banishing Earth cards maybe, just to like put them off Decompose. Although they have seen like 2 Fellings, so there's not like a ton of really significant Decompose left, I feel like. Guess we'll go ahead and just banish one anyways. Get them to 9. Doesn't really matter a ton. Now let's get a nice 0 cost here and then just do draw go, I think. Arsenal, whatever we draw. Could even play that realistically if they are representing like CNC or whatever. All right, there's another plow. It's good. So plow block is interesting. I wonder what that means. Might not mean anything. If they keep 2 cards here, it might mean they have just like a redundant like CNC effect. Especially if they like no block the Tiger Swipe. All right, there's Shelter, so we don't have to worry about CNC, so we can afford to keep an Arsenal if we want. But like playing out a Pouncing Key is like still fine. I don't know. I feel like we get the 1 extra damage off the Mauling though, so maybe it's worth it to not do that. And we can always use Pouncing Paws to like unbrick it if we really need to. I feel like it's micro optimization to maybe hold on to it there. Okay, this is a very, very good hand. So let's start with the Biting Breeze, which I'm assuming is just going to eat grass, but we get to Transcend, which is obviously more important than hitting the Tiger here. Probably should have also done that after reactions, but it's Florian, so it doesn't really matter. All right, go ahead and send in here. Probably just getting a swipe just because it's nice and efficient. But this game is, I think, going pretty well for us. We've just been transcending fairly often, it feels like, which is always nice. All right, and I think we do probably want to... They're almost always going to block the Tiger Swipe here. So I think we're going to tutor for it and then just like save the extra Tiger to unbrick next turn. Yep, seems reasonable. Holding on to extra Tiger is always good. Just means that like the chances of you bricking with a Tiger in Arsenal are like so low, like ridiculously low. Like Tiger fixes so many like trash hands, like Pouncing Key, or like whatever. Like just gives you so much extra value. All right, seems like they're going to go for Well-Grounded plus Barkskin. Happy to see a Barkskin charge not really get a ton of use. So close combat chain, Arsenal, pass. All right, this hand is kind of a brick even with the Tiger, but we can also just like block the Spelling and it's probably fine, right? Like this hand doesn't send enough damage for it to really be worth it. So I feel like we'll just blockade. Draw a new hand, and then if they draw reacts or whatever, they're probably not going to be in super great shape in terms of like offensive value. Drawing Chi is very, very nice. So if they don't do anything significant here, what we can do is just get the last chase out of the deck. All right, seems like they're overpitching a little, which is maybe a good sign for us. This could also be like a CNC for 2, but they could have also like hit information if they want to do that. So it could just be like reaping. So sure, I think we'll take the damage off the Gloom Veil here. Let's see what the follow-up is. All right, just reaping. And I don't think there's still any real reason to block with our Pouncing Paws here. It still cover like effects like CNC, so I think it's still worth keeping around. So still no blocks. We have the redundant Tiger, so we're not really itching to play like pop Pouncing Paws here for any reason. I think we'll lead off on the Tiger since we're not going to like Akari here because we have the CNC, obviously. We're just going to do Chase into Pouncing into CNC. Sorry, no, not that one. This one. All right, grab the last Chase. Play the last Chase. Shelter is A-okay. They definitely seems like they drew into a little bit of a clunker of a hand last turn when we basically just like gave up tempo and let them blocked into felling. seemed like it was a pretty good play, just because like if they draw a react there, it's like whatever. Still feel like we've got a really good lead on this game, and we've also just got a lot of chi in the deck, so our chances of like redrawing the chi like we just did here are pretty high. I get him down to 7. Pretty good. All right, another excellent hand. All right, Arcane Sea is definitely a little bit scary. I still don't think it's like worth giving Zen State here for. I mean, Zen State's like 7 damage, but I'd rather just like kill them, I feel like. Yeah, I feel like killing them is just better. So the problem with Aspect is we don't have a chase, unfortunately. So maybe this is still fine. Like, I don't think it's worth paying to like we don't have a turn if we give up cheat here. So I think it's fine to just take the runes here. Can maybe even arsenal something if we want. We can arsenal like Underwinds or whatever. Cosmic and Arsenal is probably not great. Arsenal Underwinds is also I don't know. I feel like Arsenal Underwinds is not that much worth it either. Maybe just getting the 3 block value here is like fine. Keep the life total a little bit healthy. Like we don't need to fully kill them next turn, I feel like. I don't know. Yeah, unfortunately we don't have the another chase the tail to pair with that. So options are just getting like swipe, which is good. Could also get like Key Unleash and pitch the aspect. Could also get Mauling and Arsenal the aspect. I feel like Arsenal the aspect actually makes the most amount of sense maybe. And just send like Mauling. I feel like Arsenal aspect for like a better hand where we like need the tiger is maybe more reasonable. But it does still feel weird to like Arsenal against Florian sometimes. All right, we'll still get our extra 2 damage there. So not bad. All right, 3 card Florian hand. Let's see what they got. Still pretty significant life lead. All right, Plow Under, definitely a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, maybe getting swiped there was better, or just pitching, because it did definitely feel like they had maybe the Arsenal Disruption there. So what do we want to do in response? Be like 100 wins, something, something. Even that's not like great. Maybe we just throw like Pouncing plus Wind Chakra in front of this just to like soak up a little bit of value. And then we can do like 100 wins, Biting Breeze for 2, which is pretty hard to cover at a breakpoint. And then we can potentially get that extra. Or actually, we probably Kara instead, right? Maybe blocking the Wind Chakra there was wrong, so that we can Kakara and then threaten the Biting Breeze. I don't know. I don't think it matters that much. I feel like some of these decisions at this point in the Florian game are getting a little bit weird. Or maybe just like wrong. We should be able to still threaten a bunch of cards out of their hand. At least one, I think, at this point. So the question is, do we want to send in for 2 damage, or is it better to Arsenal the Biting Breeze here? So they've seen 1 plow, 2 plows. They have a 3rd plow somewhere in there. We're almost, I feel like, at their pitch stack. They still have 2 CNCs left over as well. I feel like maybe just sending a card for value here is better than trying to Arsenal like a 1 cost. Yeah, I feel like there are definitely some opportunities in this game where we could have like gone off a Arsenal and it would have been better. Right, there's the Gloom Veil. Aspect is kind of not doing a ton on this hand. I feel like these last couple hands have not been like super incredible for us. I think we're just gonna keep blocking though. Like we're gonna draw into Chi eventually, which means our Traverse like turns on. And then we just do like 2 card 7 here. That's like fine. No real reason to like do a ton here, I feel like. Could also do 1/2/2, but that still doesn't really like do a ton. Yeah, whatever. We can just give up Cosmic, I think. Is it the second Cosmic? It's maybe a little suspect. This might be the opportunity to actually just use our Pouncing Pause to push 1 extra damage. I still feel like I'm kind of relying on Zen State to maybe close this game out. I feel like this game like got to a slog at some point. I don't know entirely why. So we have the option to pop Pouncing Pause here. Is it worth it? I feel like it might be worth it. Just to push a little bit extra damage. Like it might be the difference between us getting an extra card here. Another Root Bounce. 3-card Florian hand. I feel like our opponent's definitely playing this quite well. We're also just not seeing a ton of our chi, but that's whatever. All right, another Arcane Seeds. So we will have the opportunity to Zen State this, which is very funny. Yep, I mean, we're pretty likely to draw into Zen State, I feel like, but it does feel like we definitely got a little bit bailed out here. So let's go ahead and double transcend, resources, and then Zen State. Cool. Like we had, all right, we're gonna look after this game and see how much chi we had left in the deck, but like I feel like our odds of redrawing into chi before they hit double Arcane Seeds is like pretty reasonable. So I don't know if I played this game correctly, but they also had like a very like if we don't have the ability to make a Zen State here, that obviously like wins them the game. But like we should, I feel like more often than not have the ability to make a Zen State. Okay, so probably do draw go on levels and then just get swipe, I guess is fine. Draw go. So opponent's very incentivized to just block out here. Yeah, I don't know if we played that right, but it still feels like we got lucky and they also got lucky, is what I'm going to attribute that to. Definitely, I think a couple micro optimizations this game, like specifically with like regards to keeping an arsenal. I feel like the point at which we chose to like arsenal that aspect, we had some like pretty good information that they had some more arsenal disruption effects in the deck, so it's probably risky to like go for that. All right, curious to see if this is going to be Grasp plus Reaping Blade. Sure. All right, maybe just keeping the Rune Chance for next turn makes sense. And then I guess we'll lead off on Harmony Hunt. Should be able to strip hand here, I think. Would we have been able to? So they have a bunch of blocks. We might not have been able to. So they have 4/3 blocks. We can do like 1, 2, 2. What were they at? They were at like 3 or something. How much life were they at? Total damage dealt. I'm not sure. Tegan might have to watch this back and tell me how much life they were at.
3.
But I feel like. So what do we have left in the deck? We had 3 chi left in the deck, or sorry, 4 chi left in the deck, which we were like pretty likely to redraw at that point, and we also just had a bunch of Transcend still left in the deck. So I don't know. I feel like there's definitely maybe some opportunities that game where I could have put the pressure on the gas, and maybe they don't have that out of like drawing into Arcane Seed's life, and then we won't be at risk of like dying to it. But I still feel like there's a lot of back and forth variance there where like we had some bad variance and then they had some good variance and then we had some good variance back at them, and then our variance is a little bit better than theirs maybe. But yeah, I definitely feel like there may be some opportunities that game to play a little bit cleaner. Yeah. It's definitely a game I might just watch back myself and try to understand the different decision points, because I feel like keeping an arsenal at some points that game was definitely probably not correct. Yeah, but I think that's probably gonna be a good one to end it on. So thank you all for watching. Yeah, we're gonna continue to test out like quick dodge and stuff, which I think I've seen in a lot of lists that I like. So I'm gonna keep playing with it. I'm still not like fully sold, but I do understand kind of like the value proposition of this card, which is just like it kind of being a 2-block with temper that's sometimes pretty good against Aurora high rolls, which is sometimes like pretty okay. And I'm going to continue with this rough shell. Again, I'm working on a separate deck on the side that I think is a little bit different than this, that maybe maybe like is slightly better into like Aurora and some other stuff. I'm still kind of testing it out to see like which list I like, but I also kind of like this list as well. It generally just feels like pretty clean. I do like the additions of these sounding alarms just for like information and stuff. Like I think there's definitely a lot going on with this list, but I feel like it's all kind of like good stuff. All right, so thank you all for watching. We'll continue to kind of play some Zen while he's still legal before the Pro Quest to get some good practice in. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.